So picture this. I'm 35 years old. I'm a pretty successful software developer, and I'm sitting at this super upscale family brunch. You know the kind. It was supposed to be a nice catch-up, but somewhere between the mimosas and the avocado toast, everything, and I mean everything, was about to change.
And that's when my mother leans forward with this cold little smirk on her face. And she says that to me. And just like that, something inside me snapped. 35 years of being the family's go-to problem solver, the competent one they always dismissed, it all just came to a head right there. I just took a sip of my coffee and smiled.
Because that night, I went home, logged into the master financial dashboard I had built for them from the ground up, and very calmly, very methodically, I disabled everything. Every single credit card, every investment account, every automatic bill payment. I cut the cord. Here's the story of how we got there. Okay, so this Sunday brunch, it was a total masterclass in passive aggression. My father's glued to his phone, my brother Nathan looks like he hasn't slept in a week, and my mother is just criticizing everything. My predictable food choice, the fact that I'm still single. You know, every comment was a little dig, a little reminder of my place, all just building up to that one final brutal line. But let's be real. This wasn't just about one bad brunch. This was the grand finale of decades of being emotionally sidelined. I was the invisible architect of my family's entire financial stability. But to them, I was just this difficult obligation they had to put up with out of pity. And this pattern, it started so early. I mean, I was 12 when I overheard my mom telling a friend I lacked social graces compared to my charming brother Nathan. When I was valedictorian, my parents basically checked their watches through my speech. My scholarship to MIT, they saw it as an insult, like I was trying to show them up. So, of course, by my late 20s, my skills with numbers had landed me the glamorous, unpaid role of family CFO. And the irony? Oh, it was just staggering. I held the literal digital keys to their whole empire. I set up their trusts, automated every single payment, optimized their taxes. I built this entire fortress that only I really understood. And what did they call it? My little computer job. The double standard between me and my brother was just, well, it was blatant. I earned a scholarship to MIT. They footed the bill for Nathan's so-so grades. I built my own wealth from scratch. He lost 40 grand of their money trading penny stocks. I was managing their entire financial legacy. He got handed a cushy VP title he absolutely did not earn. But hey, he was charming and I was difficult. But here's the thing. There was a deeper and frankly much uglier reason they were trying to push me out. See, I had discovered Nathan had a massive gambling problem. I'm talking over $200,000 withdrawn in the last year alone, mostly in cash right near casinos. They weren't trying to replace me with a professional. They were trying to hide the family's biggest, dirtiest secret from the only person who could see everything.
So yeah, that night, that was it. I decided I was going to use the very skills they always dismissed to reclaim my own life. This wasn't some hot-headed revenge plot. No, this was a cold, calculated, and methodical disentanglement from a system that was completely toxic.
I moved fast and I was precise. First thing I did, I hired a brilliant, absolutely fearless attorney. Second, I documented everything. I mean everything. I created secure offline backups of every transaction to use as evidence. Then, I pulled the plug. I executed the freeze, changed all the security protocols, and shut down the automatic payments that kept their whole world running smoothly. And finally, I had my lawyer send a legal notice to stop them from illegally gutting my grandmother's library and the family cabin we co-owned. And here's just a little piece of the email I sent to the family attorney. The language is different, isn't it? It's formal, it's direct, it's completely non-negotiable. The quiet, accommodating daughter was gone. In her place was a partial owner who was asserting her legal rights. And this was the final message I sent to my family. Short, factual, and absolutely final. It was my resignation notice as their caretaker and the official start of my freedom. And right after I hit send, I turned off my phone. I knew the storm was about to hit. And the fallout? Well, it went down exactly how I thought it would. See, decades of a broken family dynamic don't just fade away. They explode. Their reaction came in this perfectly predictable cycle. First rage, then threats, and finally, manipulation. My father was first up to bat. His voicemail was just dripping with this entitled anger.
He wasn't worried, he wasn't curious, he was just furious that his orders weren't being followed anymore. You could just feel the shock in his voice that I wasn't complying.
Next up was Nathan, and his text, it wasn't just anger. It was a threat, plain and simple. He wasn't worried about the family. He was panicked, absolutely panicked, because his personal ATM, the one funding his addiction, had just been shut down, for good.
And finally, my mother. Her email was just a classic manipulation play. Notice there's no real apology, no acknowledgement of the decades of hurt, just this vague little admission that her words were maybe hasty, all designed to get me to pick up the phone and turn the system back on. It wasn't an olive branch, it was a demand in disguise.
And without me there to manage the consequences, they finally had to face them. For the first time. Nathan's fancy lifestyle, it collapsed. His condo was sold, his Mercedes got repossessed. My father had to dip into his own funds to pay over $100,000 to cover his son's gambling markers. My mother was humiliated when her country club membership got suspended. Their whole world, which was really just propped up by my invisible work, started to crumble under its own weight.
But here's the thing. As their world was spiraling into chaos, mine was finally starting to find some peace. By stepping away, I finally gave myself the space to actually heal, to build real boundaries, and to figure out what my own strength really felt like.
And the difference between my old life and my new one, it's like night and day. I went from being included somewhere out of pity to being included in my new circle of friends out of actual respect. My life wasn't about family obligation anymore. It was about my own values. That constant feeling of being drained and on edge, it was replaced by a sense of just being whole. And then, about a year later, something happened that I honestly did not see coming. Nathan, now in recovery, sober, reached out through my lawyer. He wanted to meet, and he wanted to come alone, without our parents. He just wanted to talk.
In that meeting, he looked at me and he said this, and it was the first piece of genuine, honest-to-God acknowledgement I had ever gotten from anyone in my family. It didn't magically fix everything, not by a long shot, but it was a start. It was the foundation for a new, cautious kind of relationship, one built on his accountability. You know, this whole nightmare, it really taught me some incredibly powerful lessons. That real family isn't about biology, it's about mutual respect. That setting boundaries isn't about punishing other people, it's about preserving yourself. And maybe the biggest one of all, that your self-worth has to come from inside you. Because if you look for it from people who only value what you can do for them, you will always come up empty.
And that really just brings us to the final question, for you. Have you ever been in a position where you had to choose between a relationship that was expected of you and your own well-being? It's one of the toughest choices anyone can make. But sometimes, honoring your own truth is the only path to actually being free.